صلوات بر محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين. لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون. فما يكذبك بعد بالدين؟ أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين؟ صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. صلوات.
صلوات. था ये पानों का बयां किसको दूं अब लोरियां ढूंढती फिरती है मादर है मेरा کو دوں اب لوریاں ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہا ہائے وہ نازک گلا 3 دن سے خشک تھا ہائے وہ نازک گلا 3 دن سے خشک تھا برق موج تیرے نے وہ کس قدر زخمی کیا تر ہوئی خون سے زباں لے سکے نہ ہچکیاں ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہا تھا یہ بانو کا بیان کس کو دو اب لوریا ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہا خالی چولہا تک کر اے میرے نور نظر خالی چولہا تک کر اے میرے نور نظر آنکھ بھر جاتی ہے میری اور روتا ہے جگر سو گئے ہو تم کہاں چین پایا کیسے ماں ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہا تھا یہ بانو کا بیان کس کو دوں اب لوریاں ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہا میں مسافر شام کی ختم حد آرام کی میں مسافر شام کی ختم حد آرام کی قید ہو کر جا رہی ہوں گرد ہے عالم کی بن چکی ہے رسیا ہم کہاں اور تم کہاں ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہا تائے بانو کا بیان کس کو دوں اب لوریا ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہا تیرا جھولا جل گیا اے میرے تشناندہ ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہا صلوات سورة المباركة الفاتحة
بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات. Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mu'minin, today's Ruhani Majlis is by Brother Sazad Asghar Ali Mawani for the Saleh Sawab of his beloved father, Marhum Asghar Ali Bhai Mawani, his beloved mother, Marhuma Khatija Bhai Mawani, Mawani family Marumins and Kul Marumins. You are humbly requested to recite Surah Fatiha for Kul Marumins. Al-Fatiha. Bismillah.
الصلوات. نعرے تکبیر، نعرے رسالت، نعرے حیدری. الکما ہو کے گزرے بے وفا میں دم نہیں، آج بھی عباس کا ساحل پہ دیرا دیکھ کر. الکما ہو کے گزرے بے وفا میں دم نہیں، آج بھی عباس کا ساحل پہ دیرا دیکھ کر. روک لی عباس نے روبے نظر سے فوج سام، سر جھکاتے رستہ کو سوراب و دھارا دیکھ کر. روک لی عباس نے روبے نظر سے فوج سام، سر جھکاتے رستہ کو سوراب و دھارا دیکھ کر. سکا ہے اہل بیت ہے سلار فوج شاہ، عباس وہ کہ صبر و وفا جس کی کائنات. سکا ہے اہل بیت ہے سلار فوج شاہ، عباس وہ کہ صبر و وفا جس کی کائنات. تسنا علمی میں لاکھوں دریا کو چھن کر سالی اب پسو رہا ہے فاتح فرات. صلوات.
ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي علا في توحده ودنا في تفرده وجل في سلطانه وعظم في أركانه، ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد. وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهداة المهديين، سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأراضين، روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتلتهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد. For the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziya, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the shuhada, ulama and siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahl al-Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatillah al-A'zam Arwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the wasila of al-Banin salamullah alayha that He forgives our sins. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives the sins of our parents. Oh Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Oh Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa'ah. Those who are in debt, clear their debts. Oh Allah, give liberation and freedom to the people of Palestine. Ya Allah, give victory to every oppressed person over their oppressor. Ya Allah, keep our ulama and our maraji at the head of our institutions, give them long and healthy lives. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true muntadhireen, his true awaiters, for the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as that you brothers and sisters have brought. Please recite your loudest salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman and the one who is Rahim. There are certain ladies within the Ahl al-Bayt who hold a very special position. A special position in terms of whenever their names are mentioned in front of Ahl al-Ma'rifah, in front of people that understand and know, their heart at simply mentioning this name breaks and tears begin to fall. The first is Zahra alayha salam. Her name, with all her greatness, but her musibah is such that whenever she is mentioned, alongside that elation, alongside that hope of her shifa'ah on the Day of Judgment, one's heart breaks. And you've passed through the Ayyam of Fatimiyya, and you've heard all of the majalis and the fada'il and the virtues of this lady. And with all those virtues, yet she's still seen at the grave of her father, Subbat alayya masa'ibun law annaha, Subbat alayya al-ayyam sidna layaliya, that those sorrows that befell me, were they to fall upon the brightest of days, surely they would have become the darkest of nights. And this isn't just poetic license that is used by her. No, she is the one ala ma'rifatiha daratil qurun al-ula, that upon her ma'rifah, based upon knowing her, her understanding the planets move in this whole solar system. So when she says something like subbat alayya masa'ibun law annaha, that is reality. That if people had understood, if the masa'ib, the sorrow that was in the heart of Az-Zahra alayha salam was to go upon, was to leave her wujud and enter this physical realm, surely everything would become dark under it. So she is one of those first individuals. The second is Saniya Zahra, her daughter Zainab al-Kubra salamullah alayha. That she, whenever her name is mentioned, the heart of the believer, the one with ma'rifah, breaks. And the third is al-Banin salamullah alayha. She is that lady whom, when her name is mentioned, and a person just spends a moment pondering over her, you can't help but cry. You can't help but weep over her musibah and what happened to her. Following the death of Hazrat Zahra salamullah alayha, they say that Amirul Mu'mineen began looking, with 4 young children in the home, began looking for a spouse. Now there's ikhtilaf as to who was the first of the spouses. Was it Baneen was first, or one of the other ladies who was of the adopted daughters of the Holy Prophet. But nonetheless, Amirul Mu'mineen begins to search for someone. According to the narrations regarding Banin salamullah alayha, Amirul Mu'mineen calls his brother Aqil. And he requests his brother to find for him a wife from a family that possessed certain characteristics. Gallantry, chivalry, bravery. These are those things that Amir al-Mu'mineen mentions when he tells his brother Aqil. So the first thing is, he says, find me a family that has these characteristics. Then the second requirement that Amir al-Mu'mineen gives, and the reason why he's asking for such a family, is that so that she may give me a gallant, brave, and courageous son. And you are all well versed in the masa'ib of the day of Ashura and the Ayyam of Muharram to know what the reason behind why Amir al-Mu'mineen was asking for such a woman to be given such a son. So Aqil alayhi salam, actually before we go into this, there are a couple of points here for us to take as well in regards to spouse selection, in whom we choose to spend our life with, and how it is that we choose that spouse. Obviously, those of you that are married, it's too late now, but well, I mean, technically it's not for the men, but for the ladies, unfortunately, it may be. But those of you that are looking to get married, as to what is it that one is looking for in a spouse? What is the criterion that Amir al-Mu'mineen himself puts down for himself? The first is a family. He's not even asking about the individual yet. He's not looking at the individual. He's not even inquiring. He's saying, find me someone from a family, from an environment that has what? Has this courage in there, has this gallantry, this bravery. See, all of these are slightly different. See, one that is chivalrous, has gallantry, they also have honor alongside that courage. It's not just courage, but they have a level of honor to their actions. So he's first saying, look for the family that is right. Look at the family environment, how that whole family operates, and what are their characteristics. And then the second is his aim through that union. We often get stuck at the first point of we're looking for a spouse just because, we want someone that we can like and fancy and look towards and find them quite attractive. But Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying, no, there is more to this. That is just the zahir. There is a batin. There is another angle to this. And that is the continuation of one's lineage. But what sort of lineage? A lineage that is able to take those characteristics. The ones of courage, the ones of gallantry, of bravery, onto the next generation. And so the aim in the marriage of Amir al-Mu'mineen and in any Islamic marriage is in the continuation of that lineage and those believers that will come from that union, is the maintenance of that Islam, of that faith. So he's given us two criterion here when looking. Look at the family, and then look at yourself. What is your aim through this union? And what the aim should be is having those salih children to continue and move forward with these akhlaqi characteristics. So anyway, so he tells Hazrat Aqil that find me a lady from such a place. Aqil alayhi salam says, look, I know of a lady from Bani Kilab, from the tribe of Bani Kilab, the daughter of Huzam ibn Khalid, and the mother is by the name of Thumama. He says, I think that she will be a good match for you. So Amir al-Mu'mineen says, okay, fine. Go and go towards Bani Kilab. Bani Kilab, even from the time of Jahiliyyah, were known for a number of characteristics. courage, gallantry, bravery, honor, as well as being extremely hospitable. They were known for their hospitality. That whoever, even in the period of Jahiliyyah, they had this honor, they had this gallantry. They did not partake in many of the ills of that society. And even their lineage goes up to Abdul Manaf, which is also one of the forefathers of the Holy Prophet, and there's a connection there as well through one of the daughters of Abdul Manaf. Anyhow, so Aqil alayhi salam, he goes to Bani Kilab. They were desert dwellers. So they lived outside in the deserts. So he finds them, he goes to them, says, I have some matters to discuss with Huzam. Bani Kilab say, look, forget all your things. It is our custom that first for 3 days you have to be our guest. You're our guest for 3 days. We'll feed you, we'll water you, we'll do everything. On the 3rd day, you can ask us what you're here for. Be it good or bad, that we don't care. The first stage is that you must be our guest. So Aqil alayhi salam stays for 3 days with Bani Kilab. They're feeding him, they're taking care of him, as is the right of the guest and the right of the host. On the final day, Huzam comes to him and says, okay, what is it that you have come to ask us? He says, my request is this, that I've come to ask for the hand of your daughter Fatima Kilabiyya for my brother Amirul Mu'mineen. Do you accept? Now, a slight segue, because in the early books of history, when you look at the life of Huzam, before the birth of Baneen, he goes with Bani Kilab on a business trip somewhere. And on this business trip, on one of the days where they're camped out somewhere, he sees a dream where pearls are being given to him. And then someone comes to him, tries to purchase the pearls, says, no, what you have is priceless. It's a long, lengthy dream. Anyway, when he wakes up from it, he speaks to one of the people there that knows how to interpret dreams. Says, this is the dream that I saw. And he says, the interpretation of this dream is that you will be given a daughter who will bring such honor, she will be married into such a household that will bring honor to the whole tribe of Bani Kilab, and especially your family. So now, Aqil is here in front of Huzam asking. Huzam says, look, I accept for my daughter, or for Amirul Mu'mineen to marry my daughter. However, I must first go and ask her and her mother. So by now you've already seen that this is a man of great honor anyway. In that day and age in Arabia, a woman had no real value, let alone someone to be consulted with, even though the Holy Prophet had tried changing it for many years, but these deep-rooted issues remained. But here Huzam says, no, I will first go and ask my daughter and also ask my wife. Huzam goes inside where his daughter and his wife are, and as he walks in, he sees them in a state of shock and surprise. Now, bearing in mind, Fatima Kilabiyya or al-Banin, like this title of al-Banin, according to some of our historians, was something that she had been given from a young age. So they were sitting there. He asks, what's wrong? Banin says, I was just telling my mother about a dream that I saw. He says, what was the dream that you saw? Now, Banin doesn't know why Aqil is here. She knows that Aqil has come to visit. He's there. He's been staying for 3 days, but she doesn't know the purpose of his visit. She says that last night I saw in my dream that I was in a garden, a beautiful garden. There were trees and rivers flowing, and the trees were filled with fruit. And the sky was expansive above my head, and there was a moon in the sky and the stars, and they were shining bright. She says, I just looked towards the skies and I was pondering over how it is that this sky is suspended without any pillars, what the majesty of Allah is, that she says, I realized that the moon began to descend towards me. Says it came lower and lower until it landed in my lap. Bright that I could not even look towards it. Following this, 3 stars fell from the sky and also sat into my lap. She says, and then I awoke. Her father says to her, my daughter, your dream was true. I have brought for you a marriage proposal from Amir al-Mu'mineen himself. I want to know whether or not you accept. She says, I accept. Then she turns to her mother. Huzam turns to his wife. Says, do you think that our daughter is a suitable match for Amir al-Mu'mineen? For that is the household of wahi and nabuwah. That is the household of ilm, of knowledge and wisdom, of adab, of etiquettes and akhlaq, of morals. Her mother replies that I have taught her well, and I believe that she is worthy of being the wife of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And so this marriage happens. See, not every person is worthy of being in the company of the wali of Allah as a spouse. Not every person. And not every person that gets to that point is able to fulfill the role to the best of their abilities. You know many of the wives of the Prophet, or then the wives of the Imams. Though they were given the opportunity of being a wife of the wali of Allah, they turned around and turned against the hujjah of Allah. And so to remain with the wali of Allah and leave no room for anything else to be desired, it speaks volumes for that lady. And al-Banin is that lady. She came into the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen and she served Amir al-Mu'mineen not just as a wife, but as a follower of the hujjah of Allah. And as a result, she became Babul Hawa'ij. So we have 4 Babul Hawa'ij that we refer to in Tashayyu. The first is Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala. The second is Aliun Asghar, that is referred to as Bab al-Hawa'ij as per the hadith of the 6th Imam. The third is Abbas alayhi salam himself. And the fourth is Baneen. That these are the doors towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you have requests, to knock at these doors to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But how is it one achieves that maqam of being Babul Hawa'ij, of being a door towards the divine grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And there are many different aspects of the life of Baneen that we can look at. Her sabr, her adab, her etiquette. But we've spoken about sabr here before, and we've spoken about adab here before. But one of the things that really stands out from her personality is the ithar of Baneen, the sacrifice of Baneen. See, there's one thing of giving in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's infaq, to give in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But ithar is a level above infaq. Infaq is if I have £100 and someone says, look, I'm in great need, could you please help me? And I say, okay, look, I've got £100, I need £20 to eat. So I'll give £80 to the person, if I'm good at infaq. Otherwise, I'll sort of say, right, I'll keep the 80, you take the 20. But if I'm at a generally good level of infaq, I'll say, okay, I just need 20 for my need, I'll give you 80. But ithar is that even though I need that 20, but this person also needs it, so I give them the full 100. And this is that ithar that you see in Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. That same ithar of Zahra alayha salam that resulted in the revelation of Surah Al-Dahr, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَىٰ حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَأَسِيرًا وَيَتِيمًا. That these are those that give in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِنَّا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. They give in the way of Allah from that which they love, what they need themselves. But they do not ever have the hope of someone thanking them or giving them a reward or recompense for what they have given in the way of Allah. That is ithar. And you see that ithar in the life of Hazrat Baneen. In every aspect of her life. You take even something as simple as her name. Her name is Fatima. But yet when she enters into the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen, she comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen and says, Ya Ali, I have a request from you. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, what is it? He says, don't call me Fatima. Do not refer to me as Fatima. He says, why? He says, every time you say the name of Fatima, I see that the children themselves, the children of Zahra alayha salam, Imam al-Hasan, Imam al-Husain, they themselves, they begin to become upset. Refer to me as al-Banin through my title. Sacrifices her own name. Hatta they say the day that al-Banin entered into the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen, she stood outside the house. She said to Amir al-Mu'mineen, I won't enter into this house until your eldest daughter gives me permission. Until Zainab alayha salam gives me permission to enter. And when she enters into the house, on that day the narration says Imam al-Hasan, Imam al-Husain were ill. This new bride in the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen, she leaves everything, she runs and begins to tend to Imam al-Hasan and Imam al-Husain. She sacrifices everything. When her own children are born, when Abbas alayhi salam is born, and they hand Abbas to Amir al-Mu'mineen, and you heard the narrations during the Ayyam of Muharram. Amir al-Mu'mineen looks towards him, begins to kiss the arms of this baby, and then begins to weep. And Baneen says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, is there something wrong with my son? Amir al-Mu'mineen says, no, Baneen, but I'm crying because these arms will be cut. Now here, this itself is showing the maqam of Baneen. These certain asrar, these certain secrets were not revealed by Ahl al-Bayt to everyone. They were not this sort of information. We hear about it often and we think maybe they were talking about it all the time, but there were only a few individuals that were sahib al-sir, that were given these secrets. Those that had that maqam, that could be given this knowledge. The fact that Amir al-Mu'mineen is telling Baneen at this point shows she was at that maqam to be told. Because remember, when this previously happened was at the birth of Imam al-Husain. And the Holy Prophet began crying. And Zahra alayha salam asked the Holy Prophet, why are you crying? And it is there that that the Holy Prophet told her that this Husayn of yours will be killed in a land called Karbala. So al-Banin is crying. Amir al-Mu'mineen says they will cut his arms. She says, why? Why will they cut his arms, Ya Ali? What will be his crime? Says there will be no crime. His arms will be cut in defending Abu Abdullah. The moment Amir al-Mu'mineen said this, al-Banin said, then fine. If it is in the way of Abu Abdullah, then so be it. And you know, after the event of Karbala, when Bishr ibn al-Hadlam comes to Medina and he recites the poetry, and we recite it in the Masa'ib, and Baneen comes to him and he tells her of every single one of her sons being killed. At the end, she says to him, says that, no, I asked you about Husayn alayhi salam. And then she has a line there. She says to him, أولادي ومن تحت الخضراء كلهم فداء لأبي عبد الله. Says, all my sons and everything that is under the sky, all of it, I would sacrifice for Abu Abdullah. This is that ithar that she, salamullah alayha, had. This level of total and utter conviction in front of the hujjah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That even when Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam was preparing to leave Medina, many well-wishers came to the Imam. They came to him, they said, don't go. Ayman, the aunt of the Imam, the sister of Amir al-Mu'mineen, says, why are you going? Don't go. She says, don't go. Hani, apologies, Hani comes to him and says, why are you going? Don't go. Ibn Abbas comes to Imam al-Husayn. Why are you going? Don't go. Muhammad Hanafiya comes. Says, don't go. Imam Husayn alayhi salam along the way meets his youngest brother Umar al-Atraf. And Umar al-Atraf says to him, my brother, don't go to Karbala. For I have heard from our brother Imam al-Hasan that you will be killed. All of these people tried to stop the Imam. But yet al-Banin, you will not find anywhere in history where al-Banin tried to stop Abi Abdullah. Rather, it is that when Imam al-Husayn had made the intention to leave from Medina, she came to Abu Abdullah. She said, you've decided to leave. She says, when you go and you meet your mother Zahra, give her my salams. This is that sacrifice, this submission to the hujjah of Allah. See, although the others were good, Umar Atraf, or Muhammad Hanafiya, Hani, Ibn Abbas, whatever one says, Abdullah ibn Ja'far, they had the best of intentions. But here you find that there is a lack of ma'rifah that they have towards the hujjah of Allah. It's a lack of ma'rifah that they have. That even though they're trying to advise him with the best of advice, with the best of intention, but the fact that they're trying to advise the hujjah of Allah shows that there is some sort of lack within them. This is that fundamental difference that they say between Salman and Abu Dhar. Why is it Salman was at a higher level of Iman than Abu Dhar? And say the thing that exalted Salman in his Iman was at that moment when Amir al-Mu'mineen had ropes around his neck and he was dragged to the court. And they were trying to force him to give bay'ah. At that moment, both Salman and Abu Dhar were there. Abu Dhar placed his hand on his sword. And Salman did nothing. Salman's doing nothing exalted him. Abu Dhar is holding onto his sword, preparing in case they did anything to Amir al-Mu'mineen. His holding onto the sword kept him at that level. So why is Salman's inactivity something that exalts him, but Abu Dhar's active preparation for anything that may happen keep him at that level? It's because Salman understood that there is no braver person in this room than Ali ibn Abi Talib. If Ali isn't doing anything, then who am I to even touch my sword? See, it's these small minutiae that make the difference in one's exaltation in the eyes, in Iman, in closeness, proximity to the hujjah of Allah. See, at times you must even put aside that which is halal, that which is sacred for the sake of the hujjah of Allah, as per upon the command of the hujjah of Allah. I'll give you an example. Siffin. They raised the Quran on spears. Quran is the tajalli of the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Quran is sacred. But yet Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying, push it out of the way, let it fall to the ground. I'm telling you, go and attack. And then the Khawarij, they didn't understand this point. Do Ali, this is the Quran. You want us to fight against the Quran? Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying, I'm Quranun Natiq. I'm the speaking Quran. I'm telling you to go. That same Quran that up until 10 minutes ago was muqaddas, was respected, was honored. But when the hujjah of Allah tells you to do something, then it is what the hujjah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you, that becomes the priority. And this is that latafat, this is that, in the story of Musa and Khadr alayhi salam. You look at it. Musa alayhi salam, we don't have time to go into the full depth of it. But the moment he receives the revelation, in our ahadith, it says that at that moment, some ujub came into the heart of Musa. That maybe I am the most knowledgeable person. Now the self-conceit of Musa alayhi salam is different to ours. فَدَخَلَهُ الْعُجْب, says the riwayah. His ujub is different to ours. It's not like the way we are. No, this is a Nabi of Allah. So at that moment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to Jibreel alayhi salam, go towards our Abd Musa, قَبْلَ أَن يَحْلِقْ, before he destroys himself. Jibreel comes down and says, Jibreel, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to go and learn from one of his awliya. His name is Khidr, find him. He will teach you of the esoteric realms. Now this shows the maqam and the humbleness of Musa alayhi salam. He doesn't want to say, wait, I am Kalimullah. I am the Nabi of Allah. He says, no, where can I find him? And he rushes and he goes to find Khidr alayhi salam, who isn't a prophet. But the Ulil Azam prophet is being told to go to him. Now he goes, and you know the story in the Holy Quran, he does three things. And at every point, before they start this journey, Khidr says to Musa alayhi salam, I don't think you're going to be able to handle this. You don't have the patience. Musa alayhi salam says, no, inshallah, you'll find me amongst those that are patient. They go forward. He does the first thing, he does the second thing, third thing. At every point, Musa alayhi salam is objecting. He's objecting. And then right at the end, Khidr alayhi salam tells him, this is the reason why I killed the child, why I made a hole in the boat, why I rebuilt the wall. And Musa says, yes, what you did was correct. Everything was correct. But then they separate their path from each other. They move away from each other. Khidr says, now this is the place where we move away. You can't last with me. Now did al-ayadu billah Musa alayhi salam do something wrong? No. Wasn't anything wrong that Musa alayhi salam did. There wasn't anything wrong. In fact, his objections were all holy objections. They were all on the basis of Amr bin Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar. He's telling him, why are you killing? You've done an act of Munkar, an evil act. You've killed this child. You've made a hole in the boat. You've rebuilt this wall. What are you doing? You see, at times here, and this explains that example the best. Even though Musa alayhi salam is doing Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar, but in front of the wali of Allah, at that moment it was Khidr that had been placed to guide Musa alayhi salam on this path. Now even that which is jaiz, even that which is ibadah, even that which is part of the furu' must be placed beneath the command of the wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Baneen alayhi salam understood this. That even those individuals that had supposed ma'rifah of the Imam, but still were questioning the Imam, where are you going? Why are you going? Don't do this. They're going to kill you. They're not loyal. As if the Imam didn't know. As if the Imam was unaware of this situation. But Baneen never questions. And this for us is a lesson as well. that in terms of when the Imam comes, am I able to put aside what I think to be true, what I think to be reality, in front of the teachings or in front of what the Hujjah of Allah says? Because that's the test. Leaving munkar is very easy. Leaving that which is evil is very easy upon the command of the Imam, but that which is ma'roof, that which is good. Because the Hujjah of Allah is telling you, as per the example of Amir al-Mu'mineen in Siffin, or as per the example of Salman, or Musa and Khadr alayhi salam. But al-Banin alayhi salam had embodied this. And so she became that Babul Hawaj. And tawassul to al-Banin is huge. Many of our urafa, awliya, ulama, have spoken about the power of the tawassul to al-Banin. Ayatollah Khoym, marhum rahmatullah alayh, he would say that in times of any sort of difficulty, recite your Salatul Layl and gift the thawab of that Salatul Layl to Banin. Your problem will be solved. Other awliya of Allah, they would say that do the niyyah of 100 salawat tasbih to Banin, and it will be fulfilled. Quran that you recite, gift it to Banin. Your hajat will be accepted. She holds a very ajib maqam outside of the ma'sumin. A maqam that is occupied by people like Zainab al-Kubra, like by her son Abbas. But yet, this al-Banin, everything is for the sake of her imams. Everything. Even when her sons are starting to get older, she says to them, do not ever consider yourself the equal of Al-Hasan and Husain alayhim salam. She says, do not. And do not for a moment think that you are the children of Zahra alayha salam just because you are the sons of Ali. No. Hasanain alayhim salam are your masters. They are not your equals. And she taught this ithar to them. That ithar that they displayed in Karbala. That Abbas himself stood and watched the shahadat of his 3 brothers. All 3 of them. He got them ready. And he said, go, let me watch you go and give your life for Abu Abdullah. And so one by one the sons of Banin went. Until it was Abbas alayhi salam. And then 2 of his sons, or according to some narrations, 3 of his sons also were killed in the plains of Karbala. And then all that was left was Abbas. This was all the tarbiyah of Banin salamullah alayha. She is the one that told them. She is the one that taught them. Showed them how to sacrifice for the Hujjah of Allah. Such that her son Abbas can come to the pool of water thirsty as well for 3 days. Places his hand inside the pool of water. Ya nafs min ba'd al-Husayn hubni. Oh nafs, what pleasure is there left in this world behind, after Husayn alayhi salam? Will you drink this water while your master drinks the syrup of death? And he throws back the water. When his arms are cut, his right arm, Wallahi in kata'tumu yamini. By Allah, even if you cut my right arm, Abbas will never leave defending the religion. The left arm is cut. Ya nafs, O self, do not fear the kuffar. You set your target. You know where you are going. This is all the tarbiyah of Banin. And so this Banin every single day, as soon as Ahlul Bayt had left Medina, she sat in anticipation, waiting for them to return. Until some months later, she hears of Bishr ibn al-Hadlam entering into Medina. Bishr rides in as per the command of Imam al-Sajjad. He rides into Medina shouting, calling by the grave of the Prophet, Ya ahla Yathrib la muqama lakum biha, قتل الحسين فأدمعي مدرار الجسم منه بكربلاء مضرج والرأس منه على القناة يدار. O people of Medina, Medina is no longer a place for you to stay in, for Hussein has been killed in Karbala. الجسم منه بكربلاء مضرج, his body was mutilated in Karbala. والرأس منه على القناة يدار, and his head was paraded through the streets of the Islamic world. Al-Banin hears this. She goes up towards Bishr ibn al-Hadlam. She says to him, أخبرني عن ولدي الحسين, tell me what news do you have of my son Hussein. Bishr looks around. He says, I was confused. Who is this lady that calls Hussein her son? He asks someone, who is this lady? They say to him, this is Baneen, Zawjat Amir al-Mu'mineen. This is Baneen, the wife of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Bishr ibn al-Hadlam looks towards her and says, Ya Baneen, عظم الله لك العاجر بولدك جعفر. O Baneen, accept my condolences for the death of your son Ja'far. She says to him, I didn't ask you about Ja'far. Tell me about Hussein. He says, Ya Baneen, عظم الله لك العاجر بولدك Uthman. O Baneen, accept my condolences for the death of your son Uthman. She says, I didn't ask you about him. Tell me about Hussein. He says to her, Ya Baneen, عظم الله لك العجب بولدك Abdullah. O Baneen, accept my condolences for the death of your son Abdullah. She says to him, I didn't ask you about Abdullah. I asked you about Hussein. He says to her, Ya Baneen, عظم الله لك العاجل بقمر العشيرة أبي الفضل العباس. When she hears of the moon of Bani Hashim, when she hears of her Abbas, they say Baneen was holding a young child in her hand. The child dropped from her hands. She looks towards Bishr. She says, Oh Bishr, you have torn my heart to shreds, but all my sons and all under this sky will be sacrificed for Abi Abdullah. Tell me about Hussein. They say Bishr told her what happened. She ran towards the house of Zainab alayha salam. Zainab alayha salam had already told the servant girl that if anyone comes, send them away. I want to mourn my brother alone. Baneen comes to the door of Zainab. She knocks. This lady goes to the door. She says, what is it that you want? She says, I'm looking to meet Zainab alayha salam. She says, Zainab alayha salam has asked that no one interfere in her mourning. She wishes to mourn alone. Baneen says, say to Zainab that I am with her in this sorrow. I am with her in this pain. The lady goes in. She tells Zainab alayha salam that there is a lady at the door. She says that she is with you in this pain. Zainab alayha salam knows straight away who it is. She says, move out of the way. She runs towards the door. She opens the door. Now Baneen sees Zainab. The first thing Baneen says to her, says, Zainab, your hair has become white. What has happened to you? She says to her mother Baneen, all of these sorrows that I saw have made me old. Then Baneen says to her, Zainab, let me ask you one question. Says, what is it, mother? What is it that you want to ask me? She says, did my Abbas, was he loyal to Hussein? Zainab looks at us and says, Ya al-Banin, what do I tell you of the loyalty of Abbas? He remained loyal to Husayn until the end. Al-Banin after this was seen going into Baqi, and she would make 4 small graves in the earth of Baqi, and she would sit by them, and she would recite poetry. Say, oh, those who called me Baneen, don't call me Baneen anymore. For those sons for whom I was known as Baneen are no longer here. And then they say to me that my Abbas, his head was struck with an iron bar. I say to them that how is that possible if my Abbas had his sword in his hand? But they tell me that my Abbas's arms were cut, and so I know that my Abbas must have fallen. Ya al-Banin, they only told you that Abbas's arms were cut. But Ya al-Banin, when Husayn came to the body of Abbas, Abbas fulfilled his loyalty such that the Maqatil say his arms were cut, his legs were cut. فَقَطُّوهُ بِصُيُوفِهِمْ إِرْبًا إِرْبًا. They mutilated his body with their swords. Hussein came to his body. بان الانقصار على وجه الحسين في وجه الحسين. That at that moment there was a look of brokenness on the face of Hussein when he saw the mutilated body of his Abbas. He called out, الآن انقصر ظهري. Now my back has been broken. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. ماتم يا حسين.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein, yalla. Karbala, Ya Karbala, Ya Karbala, 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 Karbala. Mother, forgive me, for I no longer live, but I gave till nothing left there was to give. For brother Hussein I gave my left and right. Oh mother, for Hussein I gave my eyesight. Karbala, Ya Karbala, Ya Karbala, Karbala, Ya Karbala, Ya Karbala, Karbala, Ya Karbala, Ya Karbala, Karbala, Ya Karbala, Ya Karbala. I gave my right, for I was his right-hand man. When all left Hussein, with Hussein I would stand. I gave them my left, I promised to give all. I refused to see before me Hussein fall. Karbala, Ya Karbala, Ya Karbala, Karbala, Ya Karbala, Ya Karbala, Karbala, Ya Karbala, Ya Karbala, Karbala, Ya Karbala, Ya Karbala. With an arrow to my eye I could still see. Like Zainab I still saw nothing but beauty. They rejoiced at my pain, but did they not know? For Hussein on the threads of my soul I throw. Karbala, ya Karbala, ya Karbala, Karbala, ya Karbala, ya Karbala, Karbala, ya Karbala, ya Karbala. They hit me where they pull my balance, I lost no arms to support from my horse, I was tossed. Mother, despite everything that they took, still to Master Hussein with guilt I would look. Karbala, ya Karbala, ya Karbala, Karbala, ya Karbala, ya Karbala, Karbala, ya Karbala, ya Karbala, ya Karbala, ya Karbala. More I wanted to offer, I was not done. For me the battle hadn't even begun. But mother, forgive me, to me death had come. How could I live when Hussein hadn't yet won? Karbala, ya Karbala, ya Karbala, Karbala, ya Karbala, ya Karbala, Karbala, ya Karbala, ya Karbala, Karbala, ya Karbala, ya Karbala. Mother, though in my grave you have my support, continue my mission for which I had fought. Mother, for forgiveness I ask you again, for I departed and alone stands Hussein. Karbala, ya Karbala, ya Karbala, 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 ya Hussein, ya Hussein.
دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا خبر دے جا کے. میری غربت کا ہے آغاز, میری غربت کا ہے آغاز, ذرا دیکھا کہ کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے. ہے تیرے بازو ہی اصل میں تو میری چادر تھے, تیرے بازو ہی اصل میں تو میری چادر تھے. اب کہاں ڈھونڈوں تیرے بازو, اب کہاں ڈھونڈوں تیرے بازو, میں بھیا جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے. ہے تیرے بازو ہی اصل میں تو میری چادر تھے, تیرے بازو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے ہائے لٹ گئی چادر تطہیر برہنا سر ہوں لٹ گئی چادر تطہیر برہنا سر ہوں منہ کو بالوں سے چھپایا ہے منہ کو بالوں سے چھپایا ہے ذرا دیکھا کہ کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے اے میری غربت کا ہے آغاز میری غربت کا ہے آغاز ذرا دیکھا کہ کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے ساتھ بابا کے گئی کو کی ملکہ بن کے ساتھ بابا کے گئی کو کی ملکہ بن کے کون تعریف کرے گا کون تعریف کرے گا تیری کوفے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے ہائے لٹ گئی چادر تطہیر برہنا سر ہوں لٹ گئی چادر تطہیر برہنا سر ہوں منہ کو بالوں سے چھپایا ہے منہ کو بالوں سے چھپایا ہے ذرا دیکھا کہ کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون عباس کو دریا پہ خبر دے جا کے کون یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین
سورة المباركة الفاتحة. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين وعلى 9 المعصومين من ذريتك علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن أجل الله فرجه وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وتمتيه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم